As we'd asked you to share, we're going to share a little bit ourselves, and we thought we'd just do a little differently today, and have a bit of a conversation and share some of our experiences from lockdown. And we did think it was fitting to not just rush back to our regular scheduled programming, as you might say, but to take some time to reflect, because it's been about 3 months where life has been quite different for all of us, and that we're no longer able to meet, and we're really grateful that in New Zealand we're back in a quite relatively safe position compared to the UK, where Johnny's parents are officers and they're still heavily restricted, and there's still lots of cases of COVID happening, and people are well and dying from that. So we're really grateful that we can be here together, and so we just want to share a little bit about that. So we're going to do this kind of a conversation. So I might ask, is your microphone on?
Don't know why it's not coming through, sir.
You might have to use the little other one. No, it's somewhere on the desk.
Cordless.
Hello.
This'll work, cool. So Johnny, what was your reaction when we went into lockdown level 4?
Yeah, well, I hope, like many of us, I wasn't the only one who was very unprepared, but that's definitely how I felt, overwhelmed and underprepared, I think. I hadn't really been paying that much attention to the virus on the news leading up to it, and I remember about a week before the lockdown, suddenly you couldn't get away from it. It was everywhere. Sports matches were cancelled and all this other stuff. So as we then tried to anticipate, we heard about the lockdown that started in the UK, and we thought something similar might be coming here. We were trying to get prepared, we were trying to print core directories, and imagining we'd have one more Sunday back together just to set everything in place. And then of course, that opportunity was taken because the Salvation Army took the decision to cancel all Sunday gatherings at that point.
Yeah, so we scrambled to get everything sorted, and then we were ready for that last Sunday, and then on the Saturday at about midday we got this message from headquarters saying everything is closed or everything is cancelled, and so we had that kind of have to communicate with everyone, text everyone, email everyone, all that kind of thing. And so there was almost like a panic. I don't know if anyone else kind of felt that, I mean, we think back about people panic buying toilet paper and stuff like that. There was that kind of panic, and I felt a bit uncertain, and everything changed every week or every day. It seemed like everything was changing. So it was draining and uncertain, and there was a few nights in there where I was feeling quite anxious. I didn't sleep very well, so yeah.
Yeah, this actually reminded me, and all this was going on, of some of the study we did at college last year, where we did a bit of study looking at grief, and how, especially sudden changes, need time for us to adjust and process them, and how actually it's really important that we allow ourselves to feel sad or overwhelmed, and it's important to allow ourselves to feel those things for our well-being rather than try and push them away. I was trying to use what I'd learned and acknowledge the way I was feeling, and then hand that over to God. And I also had this kind of assurance that no matter what was to come next, that God would lead us through, would keep leading our community through. And as Rose kind of hinted, this kind of happened. We had some amazing conversations with people at a distance, especially around the difference of going to church versus being the church. So maybe Char, you could share some of our conversations we had around that.
Yeah, so as I said, when we said that everything was cancelled, all of a sudden it kind of sparked this idea, can church be cancelled? What do we really mean when we talk about church? And what is can church be cancelled? What do we mean by church? And what does that mean for us, whose job it is to be a church leader? How does that mean? What does that mean for us? So we sometimes talk about church as we go to church, or church is a place or a building such as this, rather than the people that make up the church. And we speak often about going to church rather than being church. And then suddenly, all over the world, not just in New Zealand, we all had to adjust about what it meant to do church, to be church, when we couldn't actually meet together anymore.
Yeah, and on that note, one thing I'm trying to be really conscious of, and it's really hard, is the way I use church not to mean our Sunday morning gatherings or the building, but the people here. Even writing out this for this morning, I still catching bits where I'd slip back into it. But really, I want to get into the habit of speaking of the people as the church. Earlier this year, we looked at the book of Ephesians, and the Apostle Paul wrote in chapter 2, "You are members of God's family. Together we are his house, built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets. And the cornerstone is Christ Jesus himself. We are carefully joined in him, becoming a holy temple for the Lord." And so as the lockdown continued, a lot of our discussions on Facebook, on Zoom, had a big focus on how the church was so much more than a building, so much more than a program. Rather, that we as followers of Jesus are the church wherever we go.
And so we had, our first aim was, as a church, was to make sure we tried as much as possible to care for everyone with phone calls and newsletters and online conversations. And then we were able to meet online with some of us as a church community and stay connected and share stories. And hopefully that those newsletters that we posted or emailed to you and those videos, hopefully they encouraged you and helped you remain connected to this community as a church. So we had some amazing conversations. We had fun with our social nights that Donna and Mike helped us run. And we started a Bible study, which John and Karen helped us run on for the book of James. And so that was part of, I guess, being the church, was connecting together as well.
And then alongside this, we, along with many New Zealanders, had the opportunity to get to know our neighbours better, because we were spending more time than ever at home. So we know that as Christian disciples, we should be a church in our everyday living, loving God and loving others as ourselves. And so we were spending time chatting to our neighbours on our daily walks, finding out how they were, listening to them, offering to go to the supermarket if needed. We delivered the occasional food parcel through which came through the Salvation Army. But we were realising more and more just the importance of church being an all-of-life thing. As we talked with neighbours, as we shared bits of food, as we put bears in windows to help give life to people's walks, standing outside on Anzac Day, or putting crosses at the entrance to our properties on Good Friday.
Yeah, so one thing I'm challenged about as we get back to normal is to continue to talk with our neighbours and build on those relationships, because even as we got to level 2, I mean, it was a scramble at level 2 to get the family store open, and we had like so many pages of like health and safety and things to do before we could open. But like when level 2 came, it got suddenly all busy again, and even this week I've been like, well, I'm overwhelmed with just like normal life, which is a bit more busier, and I'm challenged that need to not go back to kind of too far, not, what am I trying to say, not forget to keep on building the relationship with my neighbours and connecting with them and getting to know them and just sharing life with them, because that's really important. And as we go about, and as I go about my life as a Christian, as a disciple, I want, filled with the Holy Spirit, as we had talked about at Pentecost, I want to continue to show love to others and not just get focused on my own life or my own business or my own church business, that I forget to just be church and all those interactions where I can show love to others and show love God and love others every day.
Yeah, so I definitely feel that the challenge to keep making those opportunities to show hospitality, to invite people around to our home, and not just people who are quote unquote Christians like ourselves, but to really get to know our neighbours, to really get to know the people we meet around town in clubs and groups, people who are not necessarily part of the Salvation Army community, but to really hear and understand, get to know them, to show them that we value them for who they are, and to learn from each other and share our lives. Speaking of which, Char, maybe you'd like to share something which helped you in your personal relationship with God.
Yeah, as we've said, it was really good to connect with people online in our own things that we run, our Zoom hangouts and Bible studies, but also with other people, wider people. So I was able to attend a seminar online by an author, Ruth Haley Barton, which was called Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership Amidst a Crisis. And so there was a few other women officers around New Zealand who we all watched it. It started about 8 a.m. or something, so we all got up in our PJs and watched the seminar online, and then we had a video call afterwards and chatted about what stood out to us. And it was really about our own personal relationship with God and how are we in our soul and in ourselves and that. And so that was really cool. And we then just went around and said, how's your soul? And I think Samuel Logan Bringle or someone like that used to say that, how's your soul? I don't know if you've ever gone up to someone and said that, how's your soul? That might be a bit deep, but it's actually really good stock take to think, check in, how am I with my relationship with God, and am I a bit restless or whatever. So we could share and have these honest, kind of vulnerable conversations over video chat. And I think having those people that you can have those really honest and vulnerable conversations with actually does help you spurs you on in your relationship with God, and keeps you I guess honest about it. You're like, oh, actually I could use a bit of reflection time, I could use a bit of time with God. And that also started to happen in our different conversations. And so I really loved the time, and it also spurred me on to make sure I had took time to spend with God and just devote to my relationship with God and to seek Him and to read the scriptures and stuff like that. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I guess similarly, that group aspect where you're talking, for me it was one of the things that really helped me was the online Bible study week by week. And it was that regular community of coming together, of knowing that we're going to be talking about these things. That helps me to make sure I engage regularly as well, that I guess kind of accountability, you might call it. That really helped me go deeper in my relationship with God. The questions, the discussions we were having as we read through the book of James together, and now as we read through the book of some of the Psalms together, of how it inspired me and challenged me both as I seek to follow Jesus in my life. And so, as we're about to talk about what things we've learned will continue to impact us going forward, but for one of them, I'm really excited that we're continuing this online Bible study, which is helpful for a number of reasons for different people. Barry's kind of talked a little bit about that, but it means it's easier for people because there's no worry about travelling or maybe leaving people behind at home. So I'm really encouraged that's continuing as well, and I'm looking forward to where that goes. But what else? How do you think all these lessons that we've learned, but also we've learned as a community, can impact us as we go forward?
So we've been trying the last couple of weeks to bring some of these lessons into what we do. Where our focus on connections, which has come through the importance, this ongoing discussion. It's important that we are connected as a community and we spur each other on, and then stay connected to God and we encourage each other.
Yeah, that's not to say that these things weren't happening before, because they were, but I guess the recent situation of being physically apart, it makes an opportunity to reflect and realise maybe some of the importance of these things, our awareness of some of these things, of connecting together, is increased. And so it enables us to look back at what was happening before and see what really works well and then what things could be improved as well based on what we've learned.
And I think, as Kate just said before, when life gets back to normal, we need to consider what parts of normal are important and which parts can we let go, and what are the lessons that we can bring that we have learned, and what is really important at the centre of it. And at the centre of it is our Christian hope, that it's all about Jesus and that we have salvation through Jesus, and that's what brings us together and keeps us connected as well.
Yeah, so as we draw towards the conclusion of this formal part of our gathering this morning, I just want to share a passage from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 19 to 25. Hopefully you can see it, but it starts, therefore. So the bit before is talking about all that Jesus has done to make a way for us to connect with God. Therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way open for us through the curtain, that is, his body, and since we have a great priest, Jesus, over the house of God, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with the full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience, having our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the final day approaching.
So hopefully, from what we've shared, there's just been some things that might have stuck out with you, and God's, from all of our shared experiences and testimony time, something that God is speaking to you about today, about being the church, about being connected, and about our own personal relationship with God. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes to reflect. We're going to play some music on the CD, and we've got a couple of questions as well to prayerfully consider in the next few moments before we finish this part of our meeting and continue in our fellowship over morning tea. So the questions are, what are the things from lockdown that you want to continue to make space for, either in your own life? You might have realised some things for yourself personally, and also for us collectively as this community of the Salvation Army. And also, how can we spur one another on to love and good deeds? And how can we remain connected and keep on encouraging one another to fulfil the mission of Jesus, of caring for people, reforming lives and transforming society by God's power. So we'll give you a few minutes.
So the questions will be on the screen when Michael's got the music playing. But also, we're doing this as individuals, but as part of being a community as well. We encourage you to share with someone else as well. Maybe some of your reflections from this time or from this morning as we go forward. So we're not just doing this as individuals, but as a connected community. So,